Once Lizra and Human crested the hill, in front of them was a long, rocky peninsula that jutted out into the turquoise-green waters of Quori. It split through the ocean like a dagger, the white foam of waves washing onto it, trying to bury it beneath the tide. Lizra hopped down from Human's shoulder and bounded down the path to a secluded black sand beach nearby. Looking out over the waters, the semicircle outline of the red giant was slowly dipping below the horizon. The water shimmered in the red light, shifting from green to a vibrant yellow in the sun's intense glare. The sounds of waves crashing ashore were all that disrupted the world around them, a tranquility undisturbed except by nature itself. I remember you talking about a beach back at the facility and how much you wanted to go to one. So I chose this place specifically since it has the most impressive on Quori. We should be far enough away from the town that nobody will bother us. It's empty this time of day since they don't wish to trek all the way back in the dark. Can you see fine in the dark? Well, no, not really, but Tic Tac said it wouldn't be a problem for you. Yeah, it's not a problem, Human said, walking out onto the shore. The tiny black stones of the beach crumbled underneath him, each step transforming the rocks into a fine sandy powder. He stopped a few meters before the water, gazing out into the setting sun that was trying to escape below the waves. He set the boxes down beside him and slowly seated himself on the beach, resting his hands on his legs and watching the world from between his knees. The green wake slowly washed up and licked the edges of his boots as he sat there. Is it everything you were expecting? Lizra asked, going over to Human and sitting atop the boxes. Even better, thank you. The two sat patiently for a breath, taking in the ocean vista before Lizra spoke again. I don't think I'll ever tire of seeing things like this. Places like these are why I love the outer world so much. Untouched, pristine, just existing in their own little pocket of the galaxy. One thing we have that the core worlds don't is real, genuine nature. I know you've needed something to take your mind off, well, everything. You always seem so down and stuck in your own head. I hope this could help you clear it. Human sat quietly, watching the sea rise and lower, like a creature breathing in a slow, steady rhythm. He lifted his arms up to the base of his head before stopping, hesitating as if he was thinking something over. I think it'd be even better to see it with my own eyes. He submitted to the thought and released the clamps at the base of his helmet. A small hiss of air escaped from the edges before he pulled it off his head. Multiple wires and connectors dislodged from his ears and mouth as he let the mask fall into the sand with a heavy thud. His pale, hairless scalp was a stark contrast to the pitch-black beach around them, and his sunken features told the story of someone who had seen better days. A jagged red scar ran from the side of one of his eyes to the back of his head, breaking up the symmetry of his face. He brought an armored hand up to block the light of the red star in front of him, squinting his eyes, which weren't adjusted to the newfound intensity. It's a lot brighter than I thought it would be, and everything's so quiet. He sat still as his eyes adjusted to the new environment. I don't hear it all anymore. The little things scurrying in the rocks behind us, the restless buzz of the city, the constant sound of your heartbeat. It's actually quiet for once. I didn't know you always heard those things. You get used to it if it's all you've ever known. This feels so strange, like losing one of your senses you've had since birth. Is this how it is for you? Only in places like this, away from it all, Lizra said, curling up into a little ball, enjoying the serenity of the occasion and the sun on her speckled fur. It's nice, you were right. It's different to actually feel the heat of a star on your own skin. The pair didn't say anything for a long while, taking in and appreciating the peacefulness of the moment they were sharing. The sun was nearly set by then. Great crimson beams of light broke through the gaps of the orange clouds above, setting the sky ablaze. Lizra finally broke the silence between them. I forgive you, you know. You don't have to feel bad for what you did. You didn't know what you were doing. Human didn't reply for a short moment. A bead of water slowly emerged from his scarred eye and splashed into the rocks below. No, I knew what I was doing. It wasn't your fault. I want you to know that I don't blame you for what happened to my people. It was a long time ago. Not for me, Human replied with a whisper, closing his eyes as he looked down at the sand underneath him. I had a long time in that pod in the beginning, no way to escape my thoughts. Nothing to do except dwell on everything I did over and over again and again. You don't know what I did, the people I hurt. I know that you're not the same person that was there all those years ago. I can tell that you are genuinely sorry for your actions, and someone who feels that kind of remorse deserves a second chance. How can you forgive me so quickly? I haven't done anything that could even remotely make up for the things I've done. Because you want to be better. That shows that deep down you were always a good person. Regardless of what you might have done, you can still make the universe a better place here and now. That's more than enough in my eyes. But it's not enough, he yelled, standing up. Lizra hadn't ever heard humans speak like this before. How can that be enough? I haven't even done anything yet. It's not about what you did, it's about what you're going to do moving forward, she stated as she sat up, locking her small eyes with the creature towering above her. Whatever you may have done, you can always atone for it by doing the right thing now. That doesn't fix anything I did. No matter what I do now, however many fucking lives I save, I can never go back and salvage the ones I ripped apart, he yelled, turning away from her, hands clenched into fists. That's what I was made for, after all. I wasn't made to differentiate between right and wrong, good versus evil, to think. That was never supposed to be my problem. I was made just to do as I was told, and let somebody else worry about the mess. All I'm good at is destroying everyone and everything around me. Is that the kind of person that you think can be salvaged? You want to see how great of a person I've always been? Human reached over to something on his chest with trembling fingers. Nestled between the plates of armor and his bodysuit were a few small pieces of paper. He pulled them out as he turned around to the tiny Illyrian and threw them into the air over her. Lizra ducked down in fear as the photos floated to the ground around her, nearly getting caught in the breeze. That's how good of a person I was. See that happy little family in those pictures? How great and wonderful their life was? Lizra picked them up and looked down at the small collection of images in her paws. They appeared to be a personal keepsake one would have on them to remind them of their family. The first showed two of her own species at a beautiful connection ceremony, happy to spend the rest of their lives together at a beautiful mountain temple. The next was them holding a newborn child. You could see the joy in their eyes as they gazed down at it. Next, they were in a town, the father holding the little one up in the air as it smiled. There was one of two younglings playing together in a grass field while the mother ran after them, trying in vain to catch them. The last showed the family of four together, the now-grown baby from the second image lifting the father off the ground, laughing as they tried to recreate one of the earlier frames. I slaughtered them, watched them bleed out and die one by one. And what did I do the whole time? I was laughing. I was fucking enjoying another casual day at work as the little ones begged for their lives, crying, and had to watch their parents be executed right in front of them. Is that something that someone who was always a good person would have done? Who are you to forgive me? What gives you any right to say that I've changed and am any different from the monster who murdered that family? I'm not someone who deserves a second chance at anything. I don't deserve anyone's forgiveness or sorrow or any of that shit. All I deserve is to be put down and forgotten about like the rest of my people. Maybe then, when we're all dead and gone, the universe would finally be a better fucking place. Human, I apologize that... Lizra tried to speak but was cut off. You apologize? For fucking what? What do you possibly have to apologize for? You weren't the one that looked them in the eye and pulled the trigger with a smile. You live in this happy little bubble where everything's so great and nobody's truly all bad, just misunderstood. Well, newsflash, Lizra, the universe isn't some magical place where the good always win and the bad guys lose. 'Cause if it were, I should have died a long time ago. Lizra looked away from the images clutched in her shaking paws, tears flooding her own eyes now. Well, excuse me for thinking that there might be some remnant of a genuine person behind that emotionless facade you put on. I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt and hope that maybe, just maybe, you're not the monster everyone wants me to think you are. But clearly that's all you see yourself as. You may have escaped from the human ships, but if you can't escape from your own head, then what was it all for? Why even go through the trouble if you're just going to sulk around feeling sorry for yourself until the end of time? Sorry for myself. I'm not sorry for myself. I couldn't give less of a fuck about myself or how I feel. The only thing I even remotely feel sorry for is all the ones that actually deserve to be alive instead of me. Does it feel good taking that anger out on me? Do you feel better yelling at the one person who's tried to show you that there's more to the world than just anguish and sadness? I just can't wrap my mind around it. You don't know the first thing about me. And yet you sit here and tell me how I should feel, as if someone like you can even begin to comprehend what I've seen. The shit I've done. You think I'm someone deserving of kindness? Human, nearly crying now, getting his words out between choked breaths. All my life, this universe has shown me nothing but malice and hate from the moment I was forced into existence. And from that day on, I've made sure everyone else felt just as awful as I have. So what have I done to earn anything better? You don't need to earn the right to feel better. You're not going to go out and do some heroic act of redemption that magically makes you feel better about everything, Lizra yelled back, getting just as emotional as Human was. You don't need to save me from the great danger of someone walking out of a store, or go back in time and rewrite the history of my people. For me to forgive you. The fact that you're here now, yelling your heart out on this beach, proves beyond the shadow of a doubt that you're more than just some mindless weapon like everyone thinks you are. You have thoughts, feelings, regrets. That's why you deserve a second chance. She was panting, nearly out of breath from the way she was yelling back at him. You just have to want to do some good in this life, and maybe then people won't see you as something that needs to be feared. Maybe once people realize there's more to you than just pent-up destruction, they'll actually want to be around you. And when you wake up and see that everyone around you can care about you, then you might just start to feel a little bit better about yourself. Lizra spoke, putting the pictures down and wiping the tears from her eyes. Human stood motionless, glaring at his trembling fingers before falling back into the sand. He brought up his hands to his head and yelled. There were no words behind it, but the meaning was clear to everyone there. Lizra carefully picked herself up off the box and stepped over to Human, lying down on his back. She sighed, wrapping her tail around him and resting her head against his. Then he began to cry for the first time in his life.